The UK Highway Code is guidance for all drivers, and drivers are expected to adhere to this code. If they don't comply with this code, they're often in line for penalties and endorsements by the police or the local authorities. And it just makes sense to keep ourselves appraised of the changes, because the Highway Code is often revised and altered. And in this video, I'm just going to highlight some of the unexpected rules, the things that drivers have either forgotten about or didn't know this change had come into force. Hopefully it'll avoid us getting fines and penalties just because of something we didn't know about. There are obviously many different laws and regulations, and I've really just tried to highlight the ones that drivers don't seem to adhere to or don't know about. I'm basing that on my own experience of driving around, and also the feedback and the comments that I get on the many videos that I produce. The use of the horn while stationary is a big no-no. If you're not moving, you shouldn't be using your horn. There is an argument that if your vehicle and occupants were under threat and sounding your horn would avoid an accident, then it would be sensible to actually use your horn. But we can't use our horn or our lights just to signal to other drivers that they can go, or to vent our anger and frustration. Both the lights and the horn are there as a warning to other drivers and should only be used to warn other drivers. Did you know it's illegal to use your horn at night? So the times that have been stipulated are 11:30 at night to 7 AM in the morning in built-up areas. You can't use your horn. There is an exception if the car is in immediate danger or there was some other urgency that you had to warn another driver by using your horn. The speed limits, are you aware that the speed limit is reduced if you were towing something? In fact, depending on the type of road you're on, the speed limit could be reduced to 50 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour. And you often see cars bowling along with caravans on the back at 70 miles an hour on the motorways, completely oblivious to the fact that they are substantially over the speed limit, especially if they're exceeding 70 miles an hour. Another note while towing something is that we should avoid the outside lane. On most of our motorways over here, you can't use the outside lane if you've got something that you're towing behind. Pedestrian priority has changed. It's complex, there's a lot of misunderstandings about it, but basically at a junction, whether we're going into a road or exiting a road, and junctions include roundabouts, if pedestrians are waiting to cross, they have priority. We have to stop and give way to let them cross. And that, in my opinion, can present challenges to drivers that are maybe on the main road turning into a side road. If they're then having to give way to pedestrians, they're actually on the main road stationary, and that's a more risky position to be in. On the zigzag lines up to crossings, you cannot stop. You can't drop passengers off. You can't bring your car to a halt. If you will stop rotating, then technically you are parked and you can get a penalty or an endorsement for doing that. Obviously, if we're complying with the pedestrian crossing and we're allowing someone to cross, that is safe to do so. But it's probably a good practice to just view that as a white box, not to enter the zigzagged area if we can't exit the zigzag area. That's probably an overly cautious approach, but it will avoid us getting caught out with that little known rule. Fog lights should only be used in the fog. Well, technically, the fog light should be used in any seriously reduced visibility. That could include smoke and other adverse weather conditions that dramatically drop down visibility. If visibility hasn't dropped, you are actually presenting a danger to other drivers, and the glare is going to affect their ability to see the road ahead. So generally, if visibility is down to about 100 meters, the fog lights should be on, and that's roughly the length of 2 lampposts, or the gap between 2 lampposts if we're driving in an urban area. Parking on the wrong side in the UK, as far as I understand it, this only really applies to nighttime parking, so the reflectors on the vehicle are in the correct direction of travel. And there's also a requirement to have parking lights on if we park on a road, if it's an urban road with a 30 mile an hour or less limit in force. When we're driving in winter conditions, snow, even if the windows are just fogged up, we have to make sure we have a clear view of the road ahead. If we just empty out a little letterbox, then we're not really driving with due care and attention. Our visibility is seriously restricted, and that would be a great way to attract attention from police and get some kind of fine or penalty for doing that. Now, it's a law that I think most of us understand, but many of us ignore. Just driving on the roads, you see people blatantly ignoring this, and that that is the middle lane hoggers. We call them clock members, the centre lane owners club. If this winds you up, let me know in the comments. I see it all the time where a car will just sit in the centre lane and not move over. It may be because they're nervous about an upcoming junction and they just know that the outside two lanes are okay, so they'll just hog that middle lane. It may just be sheer ignorance and they've not noticed that the lane to the left of them is empty, so they've failed to move over. Now, another thing that seems funny to us as a driver, if we're that way inclined, is driving through a puddle and splashing pedestrians. That simple act can land us with penalties for driving with undue care and attention for other road users. And people have landed very, very serious penalties, fines of up to about £5,000 for doing that. And it falls into the realms of careless and inconsiderate driving. And in the wrong situation, you can have the book literally thrown at you. Now, how many people actually know this one? If there's a pedestrian crossing marked, it is illegal to overtake a vehicle on that crossing. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, whether there's other laws that I should have included in this video and how much they wind you up. Thanks for watching. Please boot the like button. That really does help us to get out there. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Again, that helps the channel. And I've lined up this video and this playlist that you should find really interesting. See you in these next videos.